people. So hopefully they will join in. 2 other panelists will join in very soon.
Beautiful, beautiful. So who is online right now?
Yes, we have Swanta Blesing online. We have Olanrewaju Yusuf online.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we'll just take the conversation from there. Beautiful.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So Mr. Olanrewaju Yusuf, if you're with us, I would like you to just unmute and say something so we know you're online. Mrs. Swanta Blesing. Hello, Mr. Olanrewaju Yusuf. If you're there, please just unmute and say hello so we know you're online. Okay, Mrs. Swanta Blesing, if you're online, you can just unmute.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Peter. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Yusuf. Good afternoon.
Sure you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Hear me clearly?
Yes, clearly. I can hear you, Mr. Yusuf. Are you still with us? Okay, is Mrs. Swanta Blesing still online?
Hi, Peter. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Swanta Blesing. Okay,
it's a miss.
Miss, oh, amazing. Miss Swanta Blesing, forgive me.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll just kickstart. You're online, I'm online. We'll just get the conversation rolling from here, and we'll just dig deep into what we have, take the conversation back and forth, and wait for other panelists to join us as we go on. So let's just get the ball rolling quickly. We are looking at reinventing learning, a classroom teacher's perspective. And I have been in the classroom I was in the classroom for about 2-3 years, teaching in environments where they didn't have enough facilities. They didn't have, the interactive whiteboard. There were no projectors. There were no laptops, deep in the rural area in Ota. That's where I started. That's where we started teaching from. And we have had, are you still there, Miss Blesing?
Yes, I am.
Okay, beautiful. So we started at that point, and we are here at this point. So the subject matter being discussed today is really important. And I would like us to kickstart with this question to you, Miss Blesing. So to you, what is a power classroom? To you, what is a power classroom? What do you see a power classroom as? And I would like you to also put your own personal experience in the definition. I would like to hear your story as you define what a power classroom is for you. So over to you, Ms. Blesing.
All right, thank you so much, Peter. And hello again to everybody that has been able to join the conversation today. It's really been amazing listening to other people talk about education and what we need to do to ensure that this pandemic does not cripple us entirely. For me, a power classroom is a classroom that functions. Right. When I say function, I mean that functions in line with 21st century best practices and what is expected for meaningful learning to occur. We all actually grew up in classrooms that didn't have many of the basic tools that we needed to learn well, to teach well, to implement curriculum content the way we should. And God helped us, we turned out well. But we can't leave things to chance anymore. I have been a teacher since 2007, and I have had to grow over the years. Some of the things that we learned in school, we didn't meet them when we entered the classroom. Some of the things that we know today, we had to teach ourselves. We had to make ourselves learn. And that was necessitated by the various needs that we met in the classroom when we were interacting with our students. You get, our learners had various needs that needed our attention, and so we had to evolve with the years. And for me, a power classroom has been me taking ownership of the space that I was given to work with and making it function the way I wanted it. I needed it to function in line with the curriculum content that I was giving. So, for example, if I needed to teach children about cinnamon, for example, I would have to go out of my way to ensure that I get various tools that will help me teach cinnamon in such a way that the learners would understand. And I have worked mostly with younger children, early years. I've never been at the secondary school level or the tertiary level. So, and you know that with the early years, you have to keep improvising, you have to make learning realistic and relevant to their age and stuff like that. So I have had to, you know, go out of my way beyond what the school community provided. I have had to go out of my way to ensure that I got some of the necessary tools that I needed to implement the curriculum and ensure that learning took place. So a power classroom for me is the ability to have a classroom that functions in line with what best practices are. And, you know, standard is the same everywhere. What are the global standards for education and to say that meaningful learning has occurred? So for a classroom to be powerful or to be a power classroom, it has to function in line with meeting those global standards and you know, stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, I think while you were speaking,
in that Bankole, Bemiga, and Henry are here already. So
oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Miss Bemiga Bankole, are you there? Oh, Mr. Yusuf. Yes, Mr. Yusuf.
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Good afternoon. You're welcome.
Good afternoon. All right. So before you joined in, Miss Bemiga Bankole and Mr. Yusuf, Miss Swanta Blesing was just taking us through basically defining to us what a power classroom is, her own perspective and her own experience. So I would like to just toss the baton here to Mr. Yusuf. I would like to know your perspective. What is a power classroom to you? I would like to know what your perspective is, because I want us to put the conversation in a perspective, you know. So I want to know, what to you, what is a power classroom, and what are the features that a teacher should look out for, or a school should put in place for us to come into an agreement that a power classroom is in place. So over to you, Mr. Yusuf.
Very much, Mr. Peter. I'm really delighted to be here today. I feel it's an exciting opportunity to share my insights about people, and I'm delighted to do that. Now, to answer your question, I think a power classroom for me would be a classroom environment that is designed to stimulate active thinking, collaboration, also between the learners and designed to create an enabling environment where active thinking and collaboration thrives. That for me is classroom and I have control to select a lot of thinking I can do on their list. Another that I also see.
Hello, Mr. Yusuf.
process, you find out that learners oftentimes are just receivers of information. Hello? Mr. Peter, are you with me?
Hello, Mr. Yusuf. Okay, I think while you were
yes,
talking,
can you hear me clearly?
yes, while you were talking, it was breaking. So it was breaking. It was breaking. So I'll just give you a minute. I would come back to to get your thoughts. To just for you to just I heard you. If I heard you correctly, some of the points that you raised, you talked about collaboration, right? Are you there? Hello, Mr. Yusuf. Okay, so I think we should just move forward. Miss Swanta Blesing, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mr. Yusuf, we can't hear you clearly. Miss Tammy,
yes, Mr. Peter, can you hear me clearly now? I talked about collaboration and I talked about. Okay. Can you hear me clearly now? Is it better now?
No. Yes, it's better now.
Clearly?
We are having challenges hearing you clearly, Mr. Lanre. So I'm thinking that perhaps if we adjust something, move around with the network, it could be much better. But for now, perhaps Mr. Peter can move on to another member of the panel. And then when this is sorted, we'll come back to Mr.
That's fine, Tammy. That's fine, Tammy. I really wanted to be sure that it was not from my end.
It wasn't just you. It was
okay, so that's beautiful. So let's just go on then. So Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Beautiful. Good day, Mr. Henry. I mean, you have your gorgeous smile on. So I would like to just get your thoughts quickly on what your perspective is on what a power classroom is. So I want all the speakers to actually put in their voice before we get into getting specific questions to us. I want us to lend our voice towards painting a picture of what a power classroom is for you. I read your story, amazing story. You left a boarding career in, communications, and you came into the education industry, volunteered for Teach for Nigeria. You currently lead your own organization. So, I mean, you have experienced one hand what the public sector, what the public school feels like, what it looks like. So to you, I want to ask, what is a power classroom? How in the public sector can a power classroom be actualized, be achieved? So over to you, Mr. Henry.
Thank you so much, Peter. I think that's a wonderful question. And for me, coming from the angle of the public school classroom, I would say a power classroom is one where so many sectors, so many, let's say, influencers are working together, are working in collaboration. What I mean by this is the teacher has a human and effective relationship with the children, with the students in her or his classroom, and also have a relationship with their parents, right? Now, this is very important. Have a relationship with their parents, have a relationship with the head of schools in the school, and also if you are going for the highest possible effectiveness in your classroom, even with the members of the quality assurance, with the superb who come to your classroom once in a while. That is really important, because now I say this, I go very extensive to say bringing other people into the classroom as influencers or as partners in your teaching process because of this, right? When I got into the classroom, the first time I got into the classroom this was 2017, there was a huge problem in terms of literacy and numeracy, even behavioral issues. So this, so we had like in a classroom, I had a classroom of 82 children, right? 82 children, and less than 10 could actually read and write.
Wow.
So one of the very most effective things I did in the classroom was bring people in. It was to create a relationship first with the children. It was going beyond the boundaries of the classroom to their families, to their communities, to their environment, to sit down with their parents and have a conversation on what the future should be like, right? So we also had the head teachers. I had like this wonderful relationship with the head teachers in my school, where we sit down and we set a vision for my classroom, and they knew what this vision was. And anytime they come to my classroom and see me doing something radically different from the other classroom, they know because they are in on that vision. They also want me to succeed. So they were giving me all the help I need. They were giving me all the, if I needed extra time for this, if I needed extra support for these, even if very few times, if I needed funding for some things, they were always on board with me. And within 2 years, we saw a growth of literacy rate. The literacy rate in my classroom after 2 years was measured at 95%, right? Yeah. So we had a growth of 80% plus in growth in literacy. So if you ask me for a power classroom, I would say it's one where so many partners, where there are partnerships, where there are influencers, and all these people are coming together to see that the children in the classroom are growing in literacy, numeracy, and also behaviorally.
That's an amazing definition. So I think what's very striking for me here is, you pointed to the fact that you were able to step out of your own boundaries, your own comfort zone, to connect with these children. Like I always say, two atmospheres dominate any classroom: the atmosphere of trust or the atmosphere of fear. Your definition has, gone far to explain really one of the very core, elements in designing or, running a power classroom, which is, having that human connection with the students. So let's just get to Mrs. Gbemiga Bankole. We would like to just weigh in quickly on, your perspective of what a power classroom is, and what should be in place for you to be able to say, okay, a power classroom is what it is. So Mrs. Gbemiga Bankole, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be with Larry. Yes, and to also be with Mr. Henry. Thank you very much. So on what a power classroom is, I would say that first and foremost, a power classroom is a space where the teacher is a change initiator. We see so many things wrong these days. So in a power classroom, the most vital agent there, this time a teacher, should not just be an instructor or somebody who gives information, but should be somebody who is apt, who is ready to initiate change. So when you are that person, your classroom is first and foremost the power one, because everything you do will revolve around you getting to the vital place called change. Now, there's no way you can do that. There's no way you can initiate change if you don't work collaboratively. So a power classroom is one where the teacher is also ready, open to relationships. Like, I think it was Henry that said it. I read a quote somewhere that there's no change anywhere without vital relationship. There's no growth anywhere without vital, essential relationship. So if you are running a power classroom, you are a change initiator, you are also a collaborator, and then you are one who has keen interest in the growth of the children, because you look at everything and you're not satisfied with it, and you know that, okay, what I need to do is initiate a change. Thank you very much.
Amazing. So, while you spoke, I remember clearly. Hello? Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
So while she gave that, while she was making the definition, I remember clearly, what the definition is of learning is. So learning is stimulus together with content of memory to cause a permanent change in behavior. And your definition, Mrs. Bemiga, has pointed to the fact that the stimulus in any classroom, which is the teacher, standing in as the change agent, exactly, standing in as the change agent is a crucial factor in creating a power classroom. And that's just an amazing definition. So I'm going to get back to Miss Swanta Blesing, and I would like to ask, what skill set should teachers, gone for to be able to reinvent the learning protocol in their classroom? What skill set should teachers, have to be able to reinvent learning in their classroom? So over to you, Mrs. Swanta Blesing.
All right. First of all, we know that education cannot happen without the teacher factor. No matter how we keep trying to talk about digital learning and how learning has evolved beyond having the traditional classroom, we know that learning cannot happen without the teacher factor. And so for me, teaching is facilitating learning. It is a teacher playing the role of a facilitator, facilitating learning. And to be able to facilitate learning, there are certain things that you need to have to be able to work with the learners that will be under you. Aside the fact, we already know those virtues that we need: patience, tolerance, perseverance, the go-getting spirit, you have to be adventurous, you have to be curious enough to want to know more beyond what you think your learner knows. Because we are in a fast changing world where our learners are curious more than we are, sorry to say, in such a way that, the age factor also plays a lot. Learners that are younger than us would definitely be more curious than we are because they are not adults. So they are not worried about adulting and the many responsibilities that come. But it doesn't mean that we should relax. Like, we have a lot to do in order to ensure that we keep updating our skill set to meet these needs that will be in the classroom, whether we like it or not. So for me, I feel the most important component for a teacher right now is the ability to be able to merge, to integrate traditional teaching methods with digital methods, if that's the word. The ability to be able to merge and come up with a balance so that one is not ignored over the other. Because the traditional methods give room for the one-on-one tutoring, you get to know your learners, you get to know their specific needs and meet them. The traditional methods bring the human factor. Someone has already talked about relationships and collaboration and stuff like that. So the traditional methods actually encourage these interactions that make learning happen as well. So the ability for the teacher to be able to integrate and merge these methods together to ensure that the classroom functions as it should, and then not leaving some students behind and ensuring that everybody is carried along, because we know that our learners learn differently. So someone that might be very fast learning digitally might not be able to learn using the traditional methods. And there are some that thrive better with the one-on-one human interaction, which will help push them to learn beyond what they need to learn. So I feel, for me, the most important skill set now, considering the pandemic and all the things that are happening, is to be able to strike that balance in your classroom. What were the things that you were doing before? What do you intend to do now to create that merger, that synergy between other methods? We can't leave. I know that most of us that schooled in Nigeria, Googling, paper presentations, PowerPoint, whatever, were introduced to us at the tertiary level. Many of us didn't know what to Google meant, going through the systems that we went through
But it's time we left that mindset. We need to start introducing these other methods of learning and teaching into our everyday methods as we teach, so that we're able to create that balance and we can encourage independent learning and stuff like that. What extra skills do you as a teacher, what do you have? What extra skills do you have? How curious are you to discover and learn skills that move the world right now? Are you bold enough to push yourself beyond your comfort zone? It is no longer about teaching biology. The most important thing is, how are you teaching that biology? You know, it was enough to just come, stand in front, tell them this is what you should do, you know, do whatever calculations you need to do on the board and stuff like that. But right now, it is beyond that. Our conversations are in such a way that the teaching and learning process is beyond that process right now. So we have to be able to push ourselves to think about the how carefully. So for me, is the most various tools that we need to know, to learn, to get, like how to be tech savvy, knowing how to get on applications, using Google Classroom, the Zoom, all these other things. We know that they are there, but then after you know how to use these platforms, how are you able to incorporate it into the classroom that it doesn't cheat see, classrooms actually thrive on relationships. Without relationships, classrooms will not thrive. For a child to be able to trust me, to listen to what I'm trying to help them learn, there has to be some form of relationship that is helping to bond, to create that bond that will make the teaching learning process less stressful. So relationships are important. We can't talk about just going digital all through without striking that balance. Like I'm saying, striking the balance is very important. So I feel, and it is a skill that needs to be mastered. It is an art that needs to be mastered, because some of these digital skills, again, can actually, how will I put it? Some of these digital platforms can actually make some teachers relax and a bit lazy. For example, if Edves is going to handle my school management systems, for example, there's little that I should do, right? Because I'm handing over stuff to them to handle for me. You get my point? But we need to be able to strike the balance and say that, okay, yes, teaching and learning is no longer as we used to know it. Things have to change, and we can't relax and keep doing things the way we were doing before. So to incorporate the digital thing, how are you delivering your lessons? Instead of the normal come and stand in front, talk about what you need to talk, you can do group-based researches, you can send them to Google, come up with paper presentations. They can use PowerPoint to write their assignments, to present their assignments. You can like just send them on a journey of discovery, because as we said, as teachers, we are facilitators. We're not really supposed to just hand down learning content to them. They are supposed to adventure. It's most of the innovations that have happened today did not happen most of them didn't happen in the classroom, but the classroom ignited the fire for those people to want to explore, to get certain things done, to solve problems outside the classroom. So we have to be able to strike that balance. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I'll just cut you in there. Mr. Lanre, are you back online? Mr.
Yes,
Lanre?
I am. Yes, I am.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So, Miss Swanta, you've made a very amazing point. Considering the COVID-19, we understand that finding that balance where you have technology fused with, human interaction to ensure that there is that balance is really necessary. So, Mr. Lanre, I would like you to answer this question really quickly. How can teachers, benefit locally or internationally from reinventing learning? I know that if teachers begin to see that there is an opportunity for them, if they get deep into the waters, real opportunity that can uplift their own, both financial, personal, their career-wise, there's a benefit for them. They will be inspired, to really put their hands in the dirt and get to, reinvent the learning in their classroom. So can you share quickly, what are the opportunities that are available for, teachers who, are creating power classrooms all over the world, and we are reinventing learning. So over to you, Mr. Yusuf.
Thank you very much for that question. Can you hear me clearly? I'd like to confirm that first.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Good. So the first thing I'd like to say would tie into the first question that you asked about a power teacher, a power classroom. Now, for teachers who are going to harness the benefit of a power classroom and probably scale that to international opportunities, those teachers are teachers that I would probably call executive teachers. Now, I use the term executive very, very specifically. Now, an executive is someone who probably operates at above management level on a professional scale. And we want to see teachers operate at that level. A teacher who has harnessed the benefit of the power classroom, who is taking up international opportunities, is a teacher who has discovered their own hidden skills. I'll give a personal example. I teach literacy. Now, teaching literacy automatically transforms into me being a good writer and a good speaker. Now, how do I monetize these skills? I discovered that through speaking, I can connect with people. So every school that I have worked at, I've always operated as part of the internal and external communications team. And from doing that, I've also been able to leverage that exposure to act as compare for school activities, maybe curricular or extracurricular activities. And one of the functions that I anchored, I was discovered by an external stakeholder in the school system, a parent who wanted me to run a program for them. They had a program in their company and they wanted me to actually anchor the program. And that was how it started for me. Now, as a teacher, if I did not develop that particular set of skills that I had outside of the classroom, I wouldn't have that benefit. So this is what I mean by teachers who have discovered themselves in the classroom through either their constant practice, developing themselves, being able to export those teaching skills outside of the classroom. So you ask, what opportunities are there for teachers who have been able to develop themselves outside of the classroom? Teachers who have been able to develop the features that Ms. Swanta mentioned as being features of a power classroom. Now, opportunities are millions. Now, one of the opportunities that teachers are harnessing during this lockdown period is content creation. Yes, I've seen a lot of teachers who have transformed into becoming content creators for educational edtech companies like Edves, companies like Schoolgate, companies like Blesing, who create educational content, have to liaise with these teachers to create content for them, to vet their content. If you are a teacher who has positioned yourself as an authority in your field, definitely that's an avenue for you to make money. That's an avenue for you to scale your practice beyond the classroom. Beyond scaling your practice in outside the classroom. Now, even if you want to stay in the classroom, even if you want to stay in the teaching line, how can you move those skills that you gain probably in the local classroom anywhere in Lagos, anywhere in Nigeria, to outside the shores of the country? Now, this is something that I have witnessed personally, and I have seen it in action. And I have seen that teachers who go the extra mile, who try to differentiate themselves from the norm. Ms. Swanta mentioned Mr. Henry mentioned a very classic example. He said when he got into the classroom where he was posted, he discovered that a huge percentage of the students there could not read or write. Yes, and he had to invite experts or other teachers from outside to help them navigate that journey and become better. The experts that he invited from outside are teachers who have developed those skills, who have developed themselves in the area of teaching children how to read, teaching children how to become better readers, teaching children how to become better at literacy. If there's a specific skill, if there's a unique skill that you have, be it the subject, be it in the subject area, be it in the skill that you can monetize later, my advice to you, my advice to any teacher listening would be to find a way to make yourself get to that excellent level, get to that level where you are a professional, you are an authority in that field. And chances are that there's someone out there, there's an industry out there, there's a project out there that needs your particular skills, and you can always transfer those skills right from the classroom into the boardroom and make full money for yourself.
That's amazing. So, I mean, wherever any teacher watching across the world, it's important that you just get, deep into giving your best, creating an environment where you connect with the children, you are producing results, tangible results. And that just helps set you apart. And you are not just, it's not just beneficial for what you have said. I've realized that it's not just beneficial for the children. You get to discover yourself, and those skills that you get to discover still help you to explore other opportunities, even outside the classroom. That's just amazing. So I would like to go to you, Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry, I would like us to look at a basic issue here, which is the issue of curriculum and curriculum development. It is no news that we have in Nigeria a curriculum that is quote and unquote stale, in comparison with the global realities that we have today. The last curriculum review, I think, was done in 2014 or so. Before that was in 2004 or so. So we have a gap, in the curriculum, and the curriculum looks like that's the core, of whatever is going to happen in the classroom. So I want to ask you, Mr. Henry, what adaptive measures can teachers, accommodate to be able to reinvent learning in their classroom and create that power classroom that is necessary? I'll just take that quickly. So we have a gap because of our curriculum. So I want to find out from you, Mr. Henry, what adaptive measures can be taken by the teachers to be able to reinvent learning in their classroom and still create that power classroom that is necessary. So over to you, Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Peter. I love the question because we always talk about how stale or how outdated our curriculum is. But I love how you appended that question with how should teachers navigate the whole curriculum? And I would go for, I think it's important that, teachers start showing some form of leadership in their classroom, right? Because at the heart of the teaching profession itself, at the heart of the best teaching practice is leadership. That means taking ownership of your classroom, taking ownership of the teaching and learning in your own environment. And there's this important concept of teacher agency, right? Which means that you take charge of your own development as a person, and you also look at your own classroom. What is happening? How can you make change happen in your own classroom? So I taught in the public sector where we all know that the will of the government to actually maybe invest in teacher professional development it's not very high. It's minimal, low, or even very, very, very minimal. So the question is, in an environment where government has no will to train you, or maybe in your own school environment, your school leaders have no will to train you, or there are no resources to train you. The question is, what do? Do you just stay and wait for someone to come save you, or to come give you tickets to go learn something? No, you take it upon yourself to grow, right? And that's what leadership means. You take it upon yourself to grow. You look at your classroom and say, what's missing here? Am I lacking in literacy? Am I lacking in numeracy? Where are the gaps in my classroom? What are my children? What are my students not learning? Then you go learn it. You go get that skill, right? We are this is 2020. We have the internet has democratized personal development. In fact, you don't even need this conference we're having now. You don't need it to be a better teacher. You don't need any conference to be a better teacher. The internet has millions of resources where you can go and learn, right? So I think it's important. We are always talking about how our curriculum is outdated and everything. Before the government, before the top education stakeholders call a conference and ask us to reform this curriculum, let's discuss first, as Peter has asked, what do we do? Yeah. And I think what we can do now is check yourself, check the gaps you have in your skill, then go find somewhere to to bridge those gaps. We have low cost professional development courses for teachers. We have free resources on the internet for teachers. Just go learn them. You know, everything is in your hands, really. The internet has democratized personal development for teachers and also for every other sector out there. So, Peter, that's my reply to that question.
That's beautiful. So I'll also like Mrs. Beniga Bankole to weigh in on this question. What should teachers do in order not to be stuck? You know, like Mr. Henry rightly said, we have complained a lot about the curriculum and all of that. So what adaptive measures do you think can also be accommodated by the teachers to ensure that they still have an amazing learning processes in their classroom and there is delivery in terms of ensuring that learning is happening? So over to you, Mrs. Beniga Bankole.
All right, thank you very much. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, you know, just I think it was on Thursday or Wednesday, I can't remember now. I was in school and we had this same conversation. I was talking to some colleagues of mine and a particular gentleman told me that one of the problems we are facing in the public sector is our curriculum. And you know, I told him, the problem is not the curriculum. The problem has never been the curriculum. The curriculum tells you what to teach. The problem is the teacher. You have to go and acquire the skills of how to teach what the curriculum has told you to teach. So if over time you have taught it up in a particular way and you have not gotten results, then you know obviously something is wrong with your methodology. So it is a question of what measures do I take to readapt? What measures do I take to reinvent myself? You know, just during this lockdown, Eric just mentioned that there are lots of courses over the internet that are free. You know, funny enough, I took a course with Edves, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was an education course on how teachers can interpret data to improve student performance. You know, when I saw the advert, I was like, yes, we have tons and tons of data coming at the end of every term, at the end of every session to us, and we don't do anything with them. So I sat down, I bought internet, and I took the course. Yes, and you know the funny thing, when I checked if I was going to get a certificate, at first I thought, oh, let me just do it for the sake of doing it. But then when I thought that, okay, I can actually present this certificate when we resume and ask to help the school so that we can know how to harness, like reverse it. We have gotten this data. Let's interpret the data and see what we did wrong and know where to shoot it, to know where to tackle it. So I said, okay, let me get a certificate. And then I looked at it. Oh, they're asking me for this particular amount of money. Do you know that I applied for financial aid on my phone? Everything I did was on my phone, one small phone like that. Financial aid, and I was given. So I basically paid the university paid 90% for my certificate. I had to just pay 10%. You see, everything just fell down on me, not trying to think, okay, what will I do? What will I bring back to the table when the school resumes? I teach biology. I've taught biology for a few years now. And you know, before the lockdown, I was teaching SS1 science. And I was teaching them adaptation, association, to teach mutualism and commensalism and all of those. So I now thought, okay, if I'm going to teach association to commercial students, to humanities, students in the humanities department, what can I do?
How do you do that?
So it just came to me, how about me? I already know that if I tell them go and learn the definitions, I'm telling them what to learn. But how do they learn it? Do you know what I did? I asked them, I wrote down my points on the board and I said, next class, I want all of you to, with these definitions, provide a scenario explaining each type of association. I was blown away. when I came to class. I was blown away. These kids showed me by miming what parasitism meant. So you see, and I want to believe that it's going to stick with them for a long time. I did not wait for any inspector to come to tell me you didn't do it that way, or oh no, your class is this. I was eager for an inspector to come and see my children in action, showcasing what mutuality. Yes, tell it by themselves. You know, with that, I don't mind. When I set questions for exams and they describe it to me that way, I don't mind. That's the mind of a child telling me how he has interpreted the information that I presented. So teachers don't need to wait. I always say to everybody that wants to listen, teacher growth is teacher responsibility. You cannot wait. You cannot wait for anybody. Even if you are in the private sector, you cannot wait for anybody. Like Henry said, there's so much democracy on the internet. You can open up your phone, just type in your growth, and then there are lots of resources that you download and read per time, and you'll be amazed. So thank you. That's my contribution.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I mean,
sorry, Peter.
Yes, please.
I'd like to weigh in as well on this, because I think I mentioned earlier how it is important. Okay, I know I had said earlier that it is about how we do the teaching now, not necessarily on what we're teaching. And for us to be able to adapt, we keep talking about the gaps in the curriculum, but I know, and I'd like to repeat that that is not necessarily the problem. The problem has always been on the implementation, because no matter how fine a curriculum is designed or made to look, as long as the key component of the implementation, that's the teacher, is not doing the implementation well, there will definitely be something.
There will be problem.
So it is about it is about the implementation. And I keep saying you mustn't, as long as you know that this is what you're supposed to teach, you are responsible for looking for the methods that work best for your classroom, because each classroom has its uniqueness. What will work for Ms. Bankole's classroom might not work for my classroom, because of the type of learners that I have in my class. So it's all about what you're doing. For example, I work with rural children. My focus has been on quality education in rural communities. And over the years, I have realized that with each community we go to, even though they are all rural communities, with each community we go to, there is a specific set of problems that we have to handle. So we have had to rework some of our strategies to see how we can get to these children. For example, when I got to Kebbi State, we had first-time school comers at age 18 and above. They were just coming to school for the very, very first time. And so how will you teach them literacy, numeracy? You have to teach them how to hold the pencil and stuff like that. So we realized that going with the conventional number of hours in a class was not working for us, because what will we teach them if they don't understand the language of
basics? We
are supposed to teach them basic science, social studies, and the like. But it is supposed to be taught in the English language. They don't understand the English language. So the hours were not working for us. So what we did was we had to cut down the hours for day school. Like, so we're doing morning shift, morning to 12. Then in the evenings, we come back for just how to read and write. And then when we saw that that was working, we now said that, okay, the tools we had were not working. It's not enough to just stand and talk. We had to work on setting up a literacy center, equipping it with media, with a media station, a television, and stuff like that. And even while we were teaching them, because their minds were now beginning to open, the teacher I was working with, my assistant, we had to literally come to class with our phones and ensure that we had data. So that, because the conversations we were having in line with the content we were teaching them, their minds were even going beyond us. So they will ask us questions that were not even part of the curriculum content that we were supposed to dish out. So what we resorted to doing was we would tell them, all right, let's Google together, or let's find out together. What does this mean? What is this saying? They'll say, where does the kangaroo come from? What family does it belong to? And stuff like that. So at the end of the day, it is about the methods you use to implement the curriculum. Because our curriculum is actually, when you study it very well, it is actually very rich. All these ICT skills we're talking about and all these computer studies, we have it in the curriculum from primary 1. Children are supposed to be taught computer. an ICT, but is it being implemented? How many schools in the primary school actually have computer teachers? How many actually have computer rooms that they use to teach these subjects and stuff like that? So for me, I think we should focus more on how we are implementing the curriculum in spite of the gaps.
Yeah. So we have been able to draw a thread of thought here, and it is simply that, I mean, a power classroom is strongly dependent on how powerful the teacher is, how powerful the teacher is, how willing, you know, and it's not just about being powerful in his or herself, but the willingness to be able to expand your mind, to go beyond, you know, the boundaries and the limitations that you have in that classroom, creating connections and going deeper to ensure that you you just, you know, deliver learning as it were. So I would like us to round up now. We're out of time on this panel session. I want to thank everybody for such amazing inputs that we've given so far. Mr. Yusuf, thank you for the time. Mr. Henry, Mrs. Bemiga Bankole, and Miss Swanta Blesing, thank you so much for your time. And I will be handing over to Miss Temi. Miss Temi, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. I was just saying here that this session has been very, very enlightening. You know, this is what has, how would I describe it? I'll describe it as very impactful, because I see a group of people who are passionate about what they do. They're passionate about education. And I see a common thread. Everybody here has some teaching experience, and I can see the passion in even how you've expressed it and what you're doing in your own community. So there's been a lot to learn. Now everyone should understand why it's called the Power Classroom. I mean, you've made a very good closing statement, Peter. Thank you so much. So a big thank you to all of the panelists, Henry, Bankole, Baby, Olanrewaju, Yusuf, Swanta, Blesing, Peter, the moderator. Thank you so much for an enlightening session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Bye.
Thank you.